I've already read through these. I'm not sure I didn't save, but oh well. Alright. Maybe. There we go. Nope, never mind. I lied. Alright. Now we can finally go to the next day. Let's do this. Find destination took more time than expected. It's completely unknown. Anyone interested in the city's stories and customs will have heard the street name before. Its tranquility and elegance is well known among its citizens, as if it were a unique work of art. But appreciating art and doing the actual work are two very different things. There are a fair number of old houses of the neighborhood, and he loves the countless historical properties that line the streets. But it's fairly difficult to identify a specific building. I'm not sure that is. Ah, yes. At the core of the intersection, with trees planted along the sidewalk. Do none of those stores actually have a house number? The fast-paced lifestyle of the city is known for seems not to exist in the streets. Oh, the fast-paced lifestyle of the city is known for seems not to exist in these streets. It's so quiet that even the air seems hollow. Nor are this places here. If it weren't for this particular hobby, or if he had anything better to do, this place would remain no more than a work of art to him. Something he heard about, but would never want to visit in person. Right now, the few words he remember are becoming more and more like a treasure map. Disorientation seems to be given in this place, but fortunately, he's an expert at checking door to door and finding locations. Yes. Ground floor, glass windows, often closed. But they have a sign hanging outside. That's it. It's definitely an eye-catcher. There might be something more to the house than its awkward and conspicuous exterior. You can't put its figure on what it is exactly, and they can't be bothered to find out anyway. He isn't here for the building, but for what is lurking inside. What would be the best way to start? Making his way towards the door, he raises himself for what might happen next. Why did we have a conversation, or why did we have that whole thing with this guy? Alright. I still don't understand the point of view of this game. Really at all. Oh, it seems like a weird, like, second person, maybe? I don't know. It's not a third person game, because we're following the bookstore owner here, to a degree. We also have, like, weird flashes of other characters, and I don't really understand why. It's a weird design choice, but nevertheless, let's do the conversation. Let me actually get some music here. There we go. It's been a quiet morning until now, without any disturbances. The lights on the street outside seem to have strange restorative powers. After the spell is over, it feels as if the reset button has been pushed in the bookstore. All the stress and excitement from last week seems like a dream. It's quite upstairs, so Nico probably isn't up yet. She's always been better at staying up late than an actual cat, as her name suggests. She also spends way more time daydreaming. Tease her about this and worry about her health, you get all sorts of nasty remarks thrown back at you. It's like walking through a minefield. We all got used to it pretty quickly and stopped lecturing her. Why does the lighting randomly change? I don't understand that either. Anyway, Scarlet hasn't replied to my inquiry yet. After she left Hermitage yesterday, she just disappeared from the face of the earth. She's made her mind up and is ignored on purpose. There isn't really anything else I can find more out about Nico's circumstances, but it doesn't seem like something Scarlet would do, which makes me even more worried. Well, I guess that's the downside of living and working like this. All I do is put my trust in unrivals for our friends. She'll probably drop by when she's done with work. She wouldn't just leave Nico behind. Now's the time worrying about it. I swear to have a new customer at Hermitage, so I'll set aside the lawyer situation for a moment. I see so many familiar faces in the shop, and nothing good ever seems to come out of it, so I'm hoping to find a little bit of normalcy in customers. An unfamiliar visitor standing in front of one of the shelves, scanning the spines of the various books. His fingers are hovering in front of the books as if it was some sort of reading habit. The man looks quite young, probably his mid-20s, but his attire isn't that of a college student. He's wearing a casual hat and his coat's a little oversized. If it weren't for the fact that he's a head shorter than me, he would have resembled a certain annoying someone who also wears a trench coat. I just hope he won't be as much trouble as that guy. It's always a little awkward being the owner of a shop, trying to find a few interesting customers to talk to, but not really wanting them to know too much about you. I forgot his voice. Oh, really? That's really... He let out a gasp. He seems to know his stuff. Not too shabby, is it? Indeed. This is my, first time I've seen the Codex sermon in real life. I only ever seen it in pictures before. Tell me, is the real thing? Not quite. I know exactly which book he's talking about, but the edition in the bookstore is called Classics of the Gods, a rather straightforward translation of the original Codex sermon. Which exactly was the point of switching the title? Well, what exactly was the point of switching titles anyway? God knows it's real or not. I myself can't even read the punctuation marks. We'll just keep it as an exhibition piece until I find a more reliable owner. Oh, it's too bad. It looks like you got me. The young man smirks. Something's off here. What exactly are you looking for? Naturally, it's something that isn't easy to find. But if you have strange editions like this one, you must have quite a collection of great books, right? If you're interested in old books, I'd recommend you go to the library. The public collection is much reliable than the store, even if there are many schoolchildren busy with their homework here. It's okay. My intuition tells me that you won't let me down. He places the book back on the shelf and leans towards me. For example, a recipe for a drug passed down to generations causes strange hallucinations, something like that. Lately, not many people have come to the door who I could properly talk to. A dangerous group operating near the high school suddenly disappeared, and all the places I managed to put together suddenly vanished into thin air. Of course, it's good for the students, but it feels like someone's trying to ruin my job. Is that so? So someone really did solve all that trouble things inside? To be honest, I really didn't notice anything. I have my eyes on you. I've noticed. Well, I have a problem with it if it all works out in the end, but catches off guard is a different story. That group deserves to go to jail. But the police manhunt we started against them this past weekend was a bust. When we raided the scene, we discovered that they'd actually filled gas into their empty drink cans. Who do you think is blamed for that? His brow is tightly furrowed, making it hard to tell if he's just acting or actually getting angry. Trying to keep things from him doesn't seem to be working, but I can't let this guy in another thing. I stare back at him in a dignified manner. I will listen to more complaints, but would you mind introducing yourself first, so poor me can keep the conversation? I'm a freelance detective. You can call me Justin. As I said earlier, I'm responsible for investigating any accidents related to the drug dealers. A freelance detective? Since when have drug crimes been tied to private investigators? Very don't ask. The answer wouldn't be particularly groundbreaking anyway. This all sounds like a movie scenario. In the end of the day, the commissioner has to make a statement to the police. Even if he and his colleagues could come up with anything, there was no escaping this misery. The whole thing is a mess, and honestly, I'd love to get someone to share the blame for this. Hey, let's just stick to the facts, okay? I don't know what happened over the past weekend, really. And there are reports that this place might have been harboring informants for those guys. They were even in contact with a few students at Phoenix High School. The police have already searched the houses. I didn't have anything to do with that. Sounds like a stab in the dark. That's what I said. A man can only rely on his own abilities. My master taught me that. But my own principle is quite the opposite. I think it's a waste to let opportunities pass by, just like that. Not to mention, the new task I was entrusted with is a bit of a bummer. But as a true, responsible detective, you have to learn to live with every resource you have, right? If this resource is forcefully obtained for methods of persuasion, you cannot rely on so-called common sense. Some people just don't play by the rules. I've come to realize that whilst tracking down that group. How can I let such a powerful resource go when you scare those guys into running away in the middle of the night? What a statement. Don't be like that. I wouldn't have come to you if this was important. Leaders like plain seeing is right to the point. In the past 2 weeks, there have been 3 murders in Matto, and they weren't reported in the news even once. You know what I mean? If there's something fishy going on, that's something I need to worry about. True. By definition, that's something professionals should be worrying about. Justice snaps his fingers as if he's waiting to say this line. He's beaming with pride. But what if they're simply too busy to care? What? What did you say? The entire security forces are usually focused on one thing. To be blunt, nothing short of war could pull them out of their affairs right now. Did that recent international conference really need such tight security, for example? It wouldn't have needed them. Wouldn't have. Okay, I get it. Now that I've realized I can't count on them at all with this, I've become the second most reliable source for help. I still don't quite understand why you're involved. This is a simple case of homicide. That may sound harsh, but you being a private detective, judging by the way your business is going, you asking for help doesn't seem surprising. There's no room for leniency in criminal cases, no guarantee of absolute safety, and I'd rather you spill the beans on what's going on here before this gets any worse. You're really good at risk management, aren't you? Don't give me that. At the end of the day, I just want to keep trouble as far away as possible. Yeah. You see, this is a big problem I just can't let go. The others have their hands full. I don't think they're in a good enough mood right now to be reasoned with. He's right, even if he's impractical. I'm afraid the detective has hit a dead end and he's just finding a way out. In other words, it may be impossible to try to get rid of him without having to pay the price. I've never seen a guy beg me for help with that kind of expression on his face before. You seem hellbent on going down his path, even if it blows up in your face later. I don't care if you call me a scumbag. I don't think you're indifferent to innocent people dying, no matter what may have happened to you in the past. I don't hear about those rumors, but let's not talk about the past. So you made your mind up yet? Just give me the details. There's no way to stay more time. Just shrug his shoulders and provides a file. So far, there have been 3 victims. Their remains have already been examined and cremated. Whatever. The remains have already been examined, but I've managed to get my hands on the relevant records. According to that application, the victims are a homeless person, a maintenance worker, and a business manager of a real estate company. They're pretty different. Is there any link between these murders? They're the fatal injuries. The detective shows me some more photos. Scrapes, cut, bruises. The victims' bodies were pretty disfigured by the time they were discovered. The killer cut their necks with a cone-shaped murder weapon, digging into the aorta. This would have been lethal enough, but apparently they weren't satisfied with it. According to forensic results, the victims' blood vessels were more dried up than they should have been. Organ failure, due to the rapid lack of oxygen, produces different symptoms than death and blood loss. I'm no expert on this, but they suffered rather unique deaths. A lethal amount of blood removed through the aorta? That sounds like a bad joke. Thanks to that. This case is referred to as the Vampire Kangaroo District. Honestly, if they had enough time to come up with a name like that, they should work a little harder. Do the victims have anything in common? Hard to tell. In terms of profession, they barely have anything in common, and their bodies were found far apart from each other. For the fact that the cause of death was so surprising, not many people would have connected these cases at all. This is definitely a special case. Alright, you can search the story if you like it here, just don't mess with the pile of books over there. This is everything I can find so far. Anything more would be a sheer miracle. I take the bag of files he hands me and look them one by one. A homeless man was buried in the riverbed of an abandoned park, and the maintenance worker was discovered in a trash can. As a business manager, it seems to have taken a lot of effort to piece her back together between all the rubble of an abandoned building. Fortunately, the forensic pathologist who worked the case is very inexperienced. There was only a little tissue left intact to find out what happened. Unfortunately, he was soon transferred back to headquarters. I'm afraid I couldn't do anything about that. The file was mostly dumped on my boss, and while it's hard to criticize the junior, I think she should have realized that something big was going on here. After that, the situation only got worse. Normally, there would be no need to ask for help in such a small matter, but since I'm doing this all alone, I can manage it all on my own, but, well, you know, I'm running out of time. He still seems to put on a show, but he quickly restrains himself under my cold stare. To tell you the truth, all I do right now is track garbage collection points. I'm still trying to figure out where exactly the maintenance worker's body was collected. Is that why there are only crime scene photos and forensic records? Is it put on hold for the sake of more important cases? They dump stuff like that on poor sods like me. I can't really believe that they were forced to do that. Sounds like you're on good terms with those guys? What? I'm just a little sentimental. Forced to hire a detective to investigate a series of murders on his own. It just makes me sympathetic towards the situation. That being said, the time frame is a real deal breaker. If you can't find any clues, we'd better get to the bottom of them in a week. Since we're short on manpower, it's all hands on deck. It sounds like he's already planning for me to step in, but not say anything. Any involvement in a case that's already been filed will probably involve the police sooner or later, and the last thing I want to see is the police right now. Although the guy in front of me seems intent on dragging me with him, I can still handle the situation on my way. Much like Scarlett's situation, the investigation can't go on forever. Spending a few days with Justin under such time pressure might lead to him to look for another way to handle this. However, the theory is limited to cases that police can handle. According to Justin, they investigated secrets around Phoenix High School when the incident occurred, but it's not clear that they can be counted on in the times of need. Moreover, Justin made it pretty clear that the police are aware of the fact that a certain group of people is trafficking lilac grass. They're aware of the dangers of the drug and are prepared to use force to get rid of the whole gang. I'm afraid I'm not the only one who knows about the real trouble with this drug is. If that's the reason why these murders were assigned to Justin, it's a sign that police were unable to comprehend the nature of the drug. With modern technology, the methods of investigating irregular homicides are obviously much better than mine. However, something like this scaly worm has caused trouble. The police won't be able to count on them even if they know about the creature. A silver murder wouldn't require such a heavy hand, and the wounds didn't look as if they had been inflicted by ordinary means. If it was an act of revenge, there would have been a connection between those three victims. So, were they killed randomly for the sake of pleasure? The methods were too consistent for that, unless the person isn't. Let's try that again. Alright. Unless the person isn't crazy, but extremely paranoid. In that case, paranoia could mean a lot of things. A strange belief, or a twisted creed. Either way, it raises a red flag to me. Besides, what would it take to make that kind of hole? The series of holes in the neck is thick and deep, but rough around the edges, and much too harsh to have been caused by a sharp knife. Judging by the red swollen skin around, it looks like a dog bite, if a dog could grow 10 centimeter teeth. Not even taking account of Justin's annoying appearance, the situation is indeed bizarre. And the police situation he had been ranted on about has attracted my interest even more. I wonder if Scarlett could help me a little with this. It's just like she said, the smaller the circle, the better connected everything is. The city has seen a lot of bizarre cases, and the police might be holding back with some valuable information. It's time to sweeten the pot and gain some credibility. I understand. Anyway, let's investigate the crime scenes first. Field work. But didn't you mention earlier that I'm the only one who can move around freely at this moment? So? I can't just leave the store and walk around town with you. If the killer were a turtle, by the time I checked all 3 places, he'd long gone. You just need to investigate one place. That shouldn't be too hard. One place. I don't know what you're up to, but I'll take your word for it. Which case are you going to? Park, the residential area of the abandoned building. Not a single one of them. Huh? It's time to think outside the box, my friend. It's better to consider another person's thoughts than to follow their footprints. But how do you find out what someone else is thinking? You're a private, freelance detective, right? Yes. As such, it's normal that you don't have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. After all, this kind of trouble isn't a daily occurrence. The police will be happy to have an outsider help with the murder case. So let's not mention that to anyone. You would just embarrass them. You're ruthless. I'm guessing you haven't dealt with this kind of scenario before. There are many ways to hide a body, and coincidentally, almost all criminals who want to do so think about it carefully. It's not surprising when you think about it. It's never easy to hide a body, except maybe during times of war, and whoever is doing this wants to stay under the radar. The usual suspect will always hide the body in the most fitting place he can find. In fact, the police often have it way harder than it's described in crime novels. Do you have any details about the crime scenes? I clear out the desk and help Justin lay out the photos and maps he prepared. Let's take a look at the homeless man first. The remains of the homeless man were found in the Riverside Park. The park has been in a state of neglect for years. He wouldn't have been discovered if a morning runner had made a detour that day. That's what it says here. Yes. The detectives who visited the scene told me the body was trapped in the mud on the riverbank, wrapped in a plastic sheet. At first, they thought that it was just an oddly-shaped root. So the murderer was successful at hiding the body, just not very lucky. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the body had rotted away long before it was found. Then, there's Mr. Louis, the maintenance worker. A garbage collection station reported the discovery of the body, and after backtracking the schedule, successfully identified the vehicle that the collected waste at the location is collected at. According to a staff member's statement, the body was in a huge bag wrapped in a blanket. That's why it wasn't immediately spotted on the scene. Justin had it written down on the side of the photo. It was just one step away from disappearing to landfill and never be seen again. The average citizen wouldn't have been aware of the city's maintenance work. Even so, the decision to dump the body in landfill was reckless. Wouldn't that be the perfect hiding spot? They definitely try hard to disguise it. You can see from the photographs alone that the package was extraordinarily tightly bound. Although containing the body of a sturdy worker, it was the size of a suitcase. The outside bag is tightly wrapped with duct tape, and the blood is oozing through the cotton-filled inner layer. This is extremely creepy. A person who abandoned a body in a panic would not have made such exquisite preparations. They must have been thoroughly prepared. Last but not least, we have Miss Yang, who worked for the Rising Sun Properties. The couple who discovered body was scared out of their wits. For the sake of decency, let's not go into detail about why they went to an abandoned building in the middle of the night. But it obviously didn't go the way they planned. The body was wrapped in a plastic bag and discarded in a pile of building materials. The blood trail didn't go very far due to the street cleaning and road maintenance. The scene was gruesome, but the perpetrator managed to bypass the CCTV. The area is somewhat disconnected from the rest of the city. After all, nobody wants to clean up the mess of a financial dispute. Regardless, the criminal was intent on the body, but their method of execution was much rougher this time around. Given the peculiar fatal injuries in the scene, and this series of cases, it's highly likely that there were multiple perpetrators. In other words, the killer is growing impatient and isn't playing as carefully anymore, even if they are psychologically sound. Taking so many lives in a row would leave a mark on them. In that case, what would be your highest priority if you're disposing of multiple bodies? Take them as far away from me as possible? Bingo. At least you're smart somewhere. Choosing different directions to make them appear as different as possible, if you think about it like that. So that's a guess. Think outside the box for success, so we can move on to the next stage. I wouldn't hold it against you if you said I'm out of my mind. After all, I have enough evidence that there are plenty of possibilities that disprove my theory. Except in this case, I have a good enough reason to take that chance. 3 marked points from a triangle. Looking at this enclosed area in the middle, that is why I went into so much trouble. I'm talking about the catering district. Taking a closer look, it's almost exactly in the center of these marked points. The place is mentioned in the news yesterday. A real estate company employee was murdered, and the construction going on in the building at the time immediately came to a halt. Couldn't stop it related. Indeed, the new Ford Water Conservancy controversy. No. That's not a real word. That can't be a real word. Whatever. Indeed. Oh, indeed. The Newford Water Conservancy is always close to the King neighborhood. I think the Rising Sun Properties, where Miss Yang used to work, also had a contracts for those buildings under reconstruction in that part of town. Seems pretty suspicious. The real scene of the crime. After all, the fatal rooms would probably have nothing more to do with where these people were found. Neither the river nor the garbage heap would be a place to carry out these processes. As for the homeless man, it's possible to trace him. Though, I can't stop you from trying to find out more about him. Just smiles bitterly. Even I can't do that. You have a point, though. I'll go to the neighborhood right away and check it out. The detective places these files on the desk, pulls up the map, and tucks it under his arm. Why are you in such a hurry? I'd rather collect some more information first. We don't know anything about this place yet. You know we don't have much time. I'll just go and have a quick look around. Now let's be honest. Although I was forced to come here for help, the crime scenes were the crucial element. His eyes are locked in the door, and his words are filled with suppressed emotion. For a brief moment, Justin clenches his fists, and his knuckles go white. I'm much the private investigator, but I can't let this murder keep on doing whatever he wants. I see you're professional. He has not did professionalism. The detective turns around with a stony smile on his face. This time his expression looks absolutely sincere. As a human being, I just think that some things can't be forgiven. And with that, Justin leaves. Without an umbrella. Without either one of us noticing, the sun outside the door has been blocked out by dark clouds. Any more books? Doesn't look like it. Alright. Alright. Since Justin left, an all-encompassing silence has fallen over the theater, or over the store, almost as if it were happy to have a moment of quiet all to itself. Even the birds outside have gone quiet, not causing a commotion whilst fighting over the seats for once. Usually a few stray cats that wander around the place, but I haven't seen any since last weekend. The animals are somehow sensitive to the silkworm's lingering scent, avoiding such a dangerous predators like it's only natural for as far as animal hierarchy is concerned. I put down the delivery books for my eyes. It's private stuff, hard to focus on. The text is wordy to an almost pretentious degree, and it makes my head hurt. This could be a pain. An old colleague of mine who studied Eastern European... Yeah, and those books were pretentious. Farcical? Whatever. Eastern European religions once shared an unsettling story with me. A priest who actually came into contact with an unidentified dark book could no longer sleep at night after he gazed at its pages for too long. Ultimately, he begged one of his brothers to blind him so he'd never have to lay eyes on that cursed piece of literature ever again. That particular religious order died out eventually. The more secretive something is, the more it'll root itself in the hearts and minds of those intrigued by its forbidden allure. Then there will always be somebody to fight for it, trying to banish it. But that only ever leads to repeat the same mistakes. That particular story serves as a warning to let certain matters rest and to honor old traditions. Some things are not meant to be tampered with. At the time, I pretty much viewed it as a joke. Who would have thought I'd actually end in a situation like that myself? The sheer absurdity of it makes me chuckle. Suddenly, I hear someone walking downstairs. A moment later, Nico's head appears at the corner of the store. Hey, where's water? I'm thirsty. Kel's on the second floor. You can just go boil yourself some. The door's locked. It's okay, you can go inside. But your computer's up there. Are you sure you feel comfortable with being in the same room as it? It's fine, I'll give you the key. Well, I bet it's not the juice or anything on it anyway. No harm done. I know how frisky Nico can be. Sometimes I wonder how she managed to survive in the orphanage without anyone jumping at her throat. Though. Nico ignores my expression and raises an eyebrow. She playfully takes the key out of my hands and sits down the counter. Great speech you gave there. No need for fake flattery. People can't do everything at once. That's why it's necessary to plan out the scope of each operation first. How can anyone ignore the detailed road structures like that and draw a simple circle around the map? I'd space some wild guesses and went along with it to coax him into running an errand. I'm not responsible anyway, so even if I'm wrong, I'm not the one to blame, but hold on, you heard everything from all the way up there? Yeah, I was on the outside. I heard the commotion and chose to wait. I'd rather leave you fools to yourselves, you know. Nico shook her head and looked a little angry. Not exactly a nice thing for her said. However, I do agree with you. Oh, you mean about the, Kangaroo district? It's true that there is an employee charged with handling complaints in the area in which the Rising Sun Properties operates. His schedule's been empty ever since. No more work for him. As for the Rising Sun Properties, the company that's been doing house demolitions and relocation work for a few years now. It hasn't completely taken over the Kangaroo district yet, but I bet that's what they plan to do. You know if companies like that sometimes require their employees to do some field work in person? They definitely need to go there and talk to the residents about compensation for the demolition. They also need staff to ensure the exclusion of homes that refuse to make way. Do managers need to do that in person too? Well, if necessary, I think. To be honest, I'm not familiar with enough real estate business to be sure. Anyway, one of the Rising Sun managers, Miss Yang, was absent for a very long time, and she was responsible for a very particular project. I thought that might interest you. That's pretty suspicious. If I can get just tell me the victim's full name, maybe we can look into it some more. It'll take a while though. He's definitely got his hands full. Anyway, how'd you even get all this information? Huh? Ever heard of etiquette? Do you always ask girls about their secrets? Let me take a wild guess. Scarlet's teachings? Let me just say that in big cities, cybersecurity at most companies is a joke. Nika stretches his works a little, knowing full well how vague her answer sounds. I mean, it's not that vague. You know, sometimes you put social security numbers in the HTML code of your website, and you know, it just happens sometimes. You know. Sometimes you let your entire source code get leaked. You know, like a certain website that I'm technically recording this on. But it's fine, you know. What's cyber? You don't need cybersecurity. Just have money. Anyway. Alright, whatever. As long as cops don't come knocking because of you. So what's the conclusion? I don't have one yet. At least, not until I hear back from Justin. But since it all happened recently, it's important to check out the area as soon as possible, while everything's still fresh. Now that sounds interesting. I know I'm not a professional either, but at least I'm a little more experienced than he is. I know you're the teacher, the master, the one capable of it. Hey, don't make me sound like a show-off now, okay? But isn't showing off exactly what you're doing by saying something like that in the first place? Senior as witty as ever, and still is good at talking to people as always. Nico sighs softly, stands up, and stares straight in my eyes. Are you sure you don't want to get out? Huh? Not this bookstore, I mean. There are many other things you'd enjoy apart from being here, right? It's like a real choice. I didn't choose trouble, it chose me. I reach out and pat Nico's head. Trust me, this is a safe place for me to stare up right now, until Scarlet finds a way to clear my name. Scarlet, huh? Hey, I bet I can help you out too. I have a feeling you're kind of helpful to land me in jail. And this place isn't really what it used to. It's not exactly a high-tech den. You need better equipment. It's fine. I just go to the internet cafe. And who's gonna keep you safe? I'm no fool. I know you can never keep yourself out of trouble. Not back then, not today. The people who took in Nico weren't the nicest, that much is true, but they recognized talent and provided her with all kinds of electronics. Even if she could go into a more humble environment such as Hermitage, it would mean she could never go back. Why is she here anyway? I still don't know what drove her to come here in the first place. At least not the true reason. It feels odd. Like I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. No. Are you okay? You have a strange look in your face. No worries, nothing. I need to trust people more. In this case, I know I can. Though Scarlet seems stern and withdrawn sometimes, I know I can always rely on her. If you really want to help me out, why don't you help me dig a little deeper into these case files? It seems like we're about to hit a dead end with what we have, but it's worth a shot. How about it? Awesome. What exactly we're looking for? I need some more information about these two people we mentioned earlier. Personal history, how long they've been working at their companies, their business activities, and if they do have a connection to the Kangaroo District. I would also like to know if they have a connection to that specific building too. Okay, I'll keep you posted. I'll update if I find anything. Wow, so you're ready to play already? Nah. Just sit down, lean back, and relax, and watch you do my magic. Nika pounds her chest like a gorilla or some semi-drunk factory worker right before a brawl. Then steps aside, obviously highly motivated. Let the pros do what they do best. A valid principle that applies to every job in existence. She's shown what she's capable of more than once, so I'm confident in her abilities. Well, not deep now, but wait. We'll see what comes up. Don't give yourself too much trouble, Nico. Jeez. What's that store manager's story? Although I did get some information about him, I don't know anything about his past. But right now, it's time to focus on more important things. Justin puts away his cell phone and nearly readjusts his collar. How does it switch from first person to third person effectively within, like, the same 2 sentences? How have you done that? Why have you done that? Whatever. The Kingring district is pretty deserted, as expected. It is nearly impossible to get anyone's attention, as most residents here don't want to be bothered by outsiders. The term neighborhood is too kind of description, talking into account the dark atmosphere and general feeling of being unwelcome. You wouldn't expect a place like this to exist in a big city nowadays. It's almost an urban fairy tale. Electric wires are hanging loose overhead, fixed to various buildings. They look almost like bridges. Many of the buildings look like they need some work done. Overall, the whole architecture of the place seems improvised. When looking at these imitating blocks of concrete, you can easily picture how little space people living in there have, and how cramped it must be inside. Because of the once over-enthusiastic private construction companies, there are way too many buildings that stuffed into this one small urban area. They crisscross like ant nests. Once you leave the main road, the path immediately becomes more narrow, allowing only 2 or 3 people to walk next to each other. This is another world. Justin stands at the doorstep to the unknown and can't shake the strange feeling that this place has given him. Coming from big city from the outside, he could never fit in or be accepted by the residents here. They're basically like two different species, completely unable to understand one another. As he enters the neighborhood, Justin sees several people walking by, dressed in very plain everyday clothes. By the way they move around and act, you can tell that they are used to how things are around here, as if they never known any other place but this narrow, chaotic concrete maze. Fake sounds come from somewhere above, probably television or somebody on their phone. All in all, even with so many people, the place seems lovely. Many voices and a lot of chatter can be heard, but they all seem to be phone calls. There's very little social interaction, and everyone's minding their own business. There seem to be a lot of elderly people around, and some young people who look like immigrant workers. The detective makes a quick mental note of every resident past them, and mirrors their appearance. He has been in a similar situation in another city before. Villagers Land was transformed into an urban construction zone. Cheap, affordable housing was built, and the elderly from around the area moved in, while the young generation moved somewhere else. No matter where, the places are always the same: bustling, dilapidated, and they attract people with low income. And slowly but surely, they turn to hives. Compared to the almost decadent and peaceful atmosphere elsewhere, this place is dark and gloomy. The detective silently soaks in the atmosphere around him, trying to find a way out. It's almost too quiet. Living in a big city can be tough, but still, people make do with it. And most importantly, they still talk to each other. You'll hear those who struggle financially or otherwise loudly complain about their current situation, trying to be heard. But here, it's dead silent. Nobody's talking to each other, even after basically rubbing shoulders with their neighbors while walking upstairs. It's unsettling. Even if you're on the edge because of big city troubles and all kinds of problems that come in trying to survive in an urban environment on your own, you still shouldn't be so out of touch with surroundings. As a highly social person, it just feels uncomfortable around here. Justin tries to stop a person passing by in order to make some queries, but he's ignored again. Feeling more and more uneasy, Justin decides to change his approach. Time to give up and make contact, he opens the map on his phone again. Looks for information, and the neighborhood council seems like a good source for that. It's odd, but resident councils still need to make announcements to the people living in the area, and pass on important information given out by the government. That's the law, and it applies even in an isolated place like this. Doesn't even really take much effort. Make his way through the urban desolation with help of his phone's GPS, Justin quickly arrives at the courtyard, his eyes gazing upon the building he's looking for. This may very well be the only building in the neighborhood that is still being maintained, at least somewhat. The 3-story administrative building is surrounded by some free space in the courtyard. The building would never have attracted attention elsewhere, but in this place, it sticks out like a sore thumb. The door is open, maybe because it's during office hours. There's one in the foyer or in the central courtyard that just takes a look around. Long glass cabinets stand on one side of the corridor, filled with various announcements and official documents. No matter how chaotic and dilapidated everything seems, his hunch is right. At least this part of the institution is still working. What neat. There are 4 notification boards of residents of the area, and it seems like the notes are put up in order of importance. Justin approaches the least recent notes and starts looking for more information. An anti-drug notice, a fire inspection notice, a food safety inspection notice. These notes even make mention of plans to implement ID checks during these inspections. Curiously enough, none of these notes have any times or dates on them. Are they even being followed through? It's like a school teacher announcing a big trip in the spring, but without mentioning an exact date. Things like that only confuse people and cause uncertainty. There are only 2 possible reasons for issuing notifications like this. Whoever published these notices never really intended for the news to get out, or they didn't expect anyone to check them in the first place. Just investigating the shady, low-rent house district before. In such a place, doing identity checks and question people isn't exactly easy, and the residents here are far from talkative and welcoming. People here want to remain anonymous, so if he's got nothing to hide, they don't want to be bothered by anyone. It's quite possible that the landlords are property managers just collect their rent and look the other way, postponing important inspections, having done them only on paper. Before he stopped work, though, Justin moves away from the notices in glass cabinets in order to look for more meaningful information. Please, just a moment. Believe me. What the? Just go! Huh? People get heard arguing faintly through the windows above. It's not extremely loud, but it still sounds quite intense. These sounds coming from the office on the upper floor, close to stairs. Walking straight up would cause too much suspicion, so Justin quietly positioned himself down by the stairs, right beneath the commotion. He can hear the quarrel more clearly.
Please be considered. This could be a good thing for everyone. The compensation we're offering for each square meter is above average. Just think about it. In a couple of years, you'll be able to get a brand new house for that price. Are you serious right now? Hey, don't go acting like it's taking advantage of you. Years. Look how old we are. Do you think we really still have those couple of years you're talking about? Please calm down. If you had the choice of living in a better place, your family would want that for you, wouldn't they? What the? Are you implying my family would toss aside their parents for a few square meters of living space? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm sorry, that's it! I knew I wouldn't get through to people like you who are only out for the money. Let's go!
The conversation abruptly cut off, and angry footsteps come closer. Just positions himself in an inconspicuous way and makes it seem like he's just entered the building. A group of angry men appear on the stairs. A total of 6 people. Most of them are in their mid-50s, dressed like retirees in the big city. The group leaves angrily, venting their frustration quite audibly as they leave the building. An office door opens and closes again upstairs. No way. Just hears a younger voice sighing behind his back. The man had walked down the stairs just as other people left. His shirt looks messy and seems like a newly employed salesman who's in way over his head. This does seem like an easy job. Tough clientele, eh? Yeah, voice for the salesman. Not really sure what a salesman voice sounds like, to be honest. Yeah, I was prepared for a little difficulty, but they're just too stubborn. And you are? Judged by that commotion, you've got your work cut out for you. I assume you just work in real estate, and I feel like a pain. The salesman smiles a little, happy to finally be talking to a reasonable and understanding person once again. His eyes light up a tiny bit. Make me real tough here. People scold you for just trying to do your job. Say, doesn't your company do business with people around here too? Yeah, we just sell I made the voice similar. Oh. We just sell surveillance and security equipment, cameras, motion sensors, stuff like that. Not whole houses like you. That's a whole other league right there. The boss sent me here to get some potential clients and make some details, but it doesn't look like it's gonna go all too well. But I didn't really mean to scare you off, okay? But between you and me, I think there's something wrong with people over there. Huh? What do you mean? These people are interested in talking in the first place. Those old guys are always steer the conversation in the direction that paints you as the bad guy and then leave. Throw fits and storm out. They can't be reasoned with. That was the 5th time that happened today. Usually, this place is very active business-wide. A colleague of mine used to do the job I'm doing now, and I'm her replacement. But I don't really think she did something to upset people to such a degree. So why'd you replace her? I don't know the details. Seems like she suddenly asked for a long vacation, as our boss told me anyway. Before that, she complained to me several times that the residents here weren't reasonable. At first, I was happy, thinking I would just organize the desk a little and that business would run autopilot. But now I gotta chase up those clients. Those people have always been here? Yeah. At the very least, since I took over. I'm sorry, man. Looks like you really drew the short straw. If the situation hasn't improved by the end of the month, we'll probably have to switch to different methods of handling business. The salesman quickly covered his mouth, as if he said something he shouldn't have. It's easy for Justin to spot how little working experience this man has. I understand. Seems like I would have it easy. You can say that again. You should give it a try. Just dug your hopes up. Justin has managed to gain the salesman's trust in his act. The man crumbles a housing brochure together and throws it into the trash can. Accompanied by a defeated sigh, he pats Justin on the shoulder and makes his way back up to the office. Justin focuses his attention on the trash can. Nearly a dozen leaflets are strewn around inside of it. They've probably been there for quite some time. Most of them are crumpled up to an unrecognizable ball of paper, some of them discolored by rain and are hard to read. Just squats down and takes a closer look at a few leaflets in better condition. But the leaflets are always about different offers. The logo on the top is always the same, a simplified image of tall buildings, and the company name, Rising Sun Properties. Some of Stang's probably has some business here. Leaves are slowly starting to take shape. It's unwise to linger around and attract attention. Quite a few people on the upper floor getting noticed could cause quite a lot of trouble. Justin thinks about telling the salesman the truth about his colleague's vacation, but decides against it in the end. He quickly picks up a leaflet and steals it and stuffs it in his pocket before he leaves. Alright. Anything on TV? Local news, same old boring news. Zero coverage about the school. Cool. Anything new on the internet? 20s later, a major case from 1995 has been solved. Is this the interesting thing that Nico mentioned? Perhaps she found some kind of conversation here. I should ask just about what's going on as soon as I have time. I don't know what MD3 is. This marks the 13th year in which all citywide homicide cases have been solved, which is proof to how hard our law enforcement works to guarantee our safety. Safety is not the right word. Because obviously in a homicide case, someone's dead. So I mean, that's not the right word. To guarantee justice? Sure, yeah, whatever. I don't know. What? TRPG? What is a TRPG? I have no idea what that means. However, it's a TRPG, and it's a book. I've seen this novel in the store before. There's an old first edition magazine by that particular author in the store. That's because it's popular. I should buy the next print edition and immediately sell for a nice profit. Oh yeah, the Cthulhu myth. Cool. I don't care, but yeah, cool. He's bird detective Kashubi Masuki or Fi Demaru. I'll go with Masuki because I can say that name. We'll have 10 people from each development team compete over which character is the best detective. Yeah, that sounds great. Clearly it's gotta be Kabushi not Mazusuki, because that's actually a readable name, rather than Fei Danamu. Anything new here? There are only two kinds of headlines people actually read. The first shocking headline, something about death, sex, crisis, so on, and is very colorful. The second is a fantasy headline that the chicken box is going for. Loads of people click on articles if they have fantasy intellectual titles. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The best way to beat an enemy is to throw your sword. It's pretty silly. Would this technique be so popular if the sword animation didn't look so good? What? Okay. 13 members of a Thai soccer team disappear after entering a cave. Did that actually happen at some point? Or something of that nature? I remember some story of that, like, I want to say 15 years ago. I don't know. Alright. Yeah, let's read our messages here. Yo, Nico. I've stumbled across something interesting. You should compare it to the information from the forum you're always on. That'll take forever. The overreacting. There aren't as many old posts to sift through. Come on, just check it out. Wasn't that this? Yeah. Okay. Set dialogue trigger doesn't really matter if we've done the conversation, not yet. Okay. Alright, but yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of Hermitage here. Gets the feeling that the next episode is gonna be like 3 years long. So yeah, we'll call it here, and see you guys in the next one. Peace.